Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. IRS extends economic impact payment registration deadline for non-filers to November 21st. COVID tax tip 2020-135, October 13, 2020. The deadline to register an economic impact payment using the non-filers tool is extended to November 21st, 2020. The IRS urges people who don't typically file a tax return and haven't received an economic impact payment to register as quickly as possible using the non-filer Enter Info Here tool on IRS.gov. There's also a link to that here. So once again, the IRS is pushing this economic impact payments and trying to get them out to as many people as possible. The people that may not have received the economic impact payments would typically be those that did not file a 2019 return or a 2018 return, because that's what the IRS used to process the payments, even though the economic payment is really tied to basically the 2020 return, which isn't going to be filed till 2021. So they kind of estimated it on 2018 and 2019. Now, if you haven't filed those returns, but you're supposed to file those returns, meaning your income is over the threshold that you need to file those returns, this isn't for you. Because they want you to actually file the returns, and the non-filer tool is not here to substitute the tax return. So they want to actually file the tax return. But for those who are below the income threshold, don't need to file a tax return, and those who did not receive an economic impact from some other source of income that the IRS could use to then send one out, such as Social Security benefits or something like that, those are the people that the IRS is looking to get the information for, so that they can give the information necessary so the IRS can process the economic impact payment. They've been extending the deadline, so they keep pushing out the deadline, but they say this is it this time, November 2020 first. That's it. That's going to be the end date, and they're not going to push it out any further unless they do. But they're not going to do that. But you want to file it before the November 21st deadline. Now, if you don't file it before then and they don't extend it, then that would mean you could still get it, but then they'd have to actually file a tax return, which these individuals, people that would fall into this category, probably wouldn't be filing a tax return. It would be more difficult to do that, and you wouldn't be able to file the tax return until 2021 for the year 2020 in order to receive the economic impact payment. Okay, so this additional time is solely for those who haven't registered or received their EIP, economic impact payment, and don't normally file a tax return. For taxpayers who requested an extension of time to file their 2019 tax return, the deadline is Thursday, October 15th. So this is not the extension deadline. So for individual tax return filing, to actually just file your tax return, if you need to file your 2019 tax return, then and you put it on extension, that deadline is October 15th. That has not been pushed out, and they're trying to get back to the norm on the normal individual deadlines here, which October 15th is the norm, back to the norm. So we should be pushing forward in the standard schedule after that point for individual tax returns, unless they change something. So most eligible U.S. taxpayers automatically received, there's a link to automatically received, their economic impact payment. Others who don't have a filing obligation need to use the non-filers tool to register with the IRS to get up to $1,200. Typically, this includes people who receive little or no income. So those are the people they're looking at. They're looking for those people that have little or no income and haven't yet received an economic impact payment based on some other type of thing. So if you know someone that falls into that category, then you might want to use this tool. Would be the easiest way to pick up that $1,200 economic impact payment. The non-filer tool, there's a link to that here, is secure. It's designed for people with incomes typically below $24,400 for married couples and $12,200 for singles who could not be claimed as dependent by someone else. So those are the income thresholds, in essence, where if you're below that threshold, you don't necessarily have to file. Again, if you're below the thresholds that you don't need to file, you may want to file, because if you have any kind of wages, you might have had withholdings on them, and then you could get basically the withholdings back, and you might have some earned income credits that could be substantial, so you might want to then still file, and you might have another credit for child tax credits. Those are going to be refundable credits, so they would be higher. You can get a credit higher than the amount that you put in. So yet maybe if you're under these thresholds that you don't need to file, and if you don't need to file, then you might want to use the tool in order to pick up the economic impact payment if possible. However, if you're under those thresholds, you may still want to look into filing, because you may be eligible for, other kinds of credits that could be substantial, like the earned income credit and the child tax credit. So this includes couples and individuals who are experiencing homelessness. Anyone using the non-filer tool can speed up the arrival of their payment by choosing to receive it by direct deposit. Those not choosing this option will get a check. So they're pushing to do the direct deposit. Obviously, if you're talking about someone who doesn't have a secure location, that's part of the problem here. So, if there's a banking information to get the payment that would be sent directly, that would be faster. If there's some secure way to do that, or if not, then the IRS is going to need, obviously, a mailing address to pick up the check that would then be mailed. Beginning 2 weeks after they register, people can track the status of their payment using the Get My Payment tool. So once you sign this thing up, you can check this tool to see if the payment has been processed and is on its way. It's available now on the IRS.gov website. There's a link to that here. There'll be a link to this in the description.